Apply. Imagine a world where shadows ruled the night and honor defined the day. In the misty mountains of Japan, apply, legends were born, warriors who lived by a code sharper than their swords, and spies who disappeared into the darkness without leaving a trace. For centuries, apply, tales of samurai and ninjas have captured our imagination, but how much of what we know is real and how much is myth? Were the samurai truly bound only by loyalty and honor? Apply, did ninjas really vanish like ghosts, or was their power rooted in fear and mystery? Tonight we pull back the veil of history to uncover the truth behind Japan's most mysterious icons. Apply. Prepare to step into a story where discipline met deception, where courage met cunning, and where legends were not just written. Apply. They were lived. The samurai were not merely warriors. They were the living embodiment of a philosophy that shaped Japan for centuries. At the heart of their existence was Bushido. Apply, the way of the warrior, a code that bound every samurai to ideals far greater than personal ambition. Imagine a life where honor was not just a virtue but a currency. Apply, where loyalty outweighed survival and where the loss of dignity was considered worse than death itself. That was the path of Bushido. Apply. This code was not written in a single book or etched into a single scroll. It was an unwritten law, a spiritual compass that guided samurai through every choice and every battle. Courage, apply, respect, integrity, loyalty, self-discipline, and above all, honor. These were not simply words, they were the bones and blood of the samurai soul. Apply. A samurai without honor was like a sword without its edge, useless, broken, and destined for shame. Picture a samurai standing at dawn, blade in hand. Apply. Watching the sun rise over the misty fields of Japan. That sword was not just steel, it was an extension of his soul, sharpened by discipline and forged by duty. Apply. To wield it recklessly would dishonor not only himself, but his family and his ancestors. Every strike had to be precise, justified, and worthy of the Bushido spirit. Apply. But Bushido was not only about battle, it demanded a balance between strength and compassion. A samurai was expected to be educated, well, versed in literature, poetry, calligraphy, apply, and philosophy. To be a warrior meant to master not just the body, but the mind. In this way, apply, Bushido shaped men who were both fierce in combat and refined in thought, men who could spill ink as gracefully as they spilled blood. The greatest test of Bushido, however, apply, was loyalty. The bond between a samurai and his lord, known as the daimyo, was sacred and absolute. Betrayal was unthinkable. If a lord fell, the samurai was expected to follow, apply, even unto death. That ultimate sacrifice was enshrined in the practice of seppuku, the ritual suicide performed to restore honor when it was lost. Apply. Imagine the weight of a choice where death was not seen as an end, but as a final act of loyalty and redemption. Such was the steel resolve demanded by Bushido. And yet, apply, Bushido was not a static code. It evolved with Japan's shifting tides. In times of war, it sharpened into a doctrine of battle, driving samurai to acts of unimaginable bravery. Apply. In times of peace, it became a philosophy of self-cultivation, guiding leaders, poets, and thinkers. Apply. Even as samurai clans vanished and the age of swords gave way to the march of modernity, Bushido refused to die. Its spirit lingered, shaping Japan's identity, military values, apply, and cultural pride. To this day, the echoes of Bushido can be felt. It resonates in the discipline of martial arts, in the resilience of Japanese culture, apply, and in the stories that continue to captivate the world. When we think of samurai, we do not simply think of warriors, we think of guardians of an ideal. Apply, men who lived and died by a code that demanded more than victory. It demanded the ultimate pursuit of honor. The weapons of the samurai and the ninjas were not just instruments of war. Apply, they were symbols of identity, power, and philosophy. Among them all, none was as revered as the katana, forged with painstaking precision by master swordsmiths. Apply, the katana was more than steel. It was said to contain the soul of the samurai who wielded it. Crafted through a process of repeated folding and hammering, layer upon layer, apply, the blade achieved both incredible sharpness and unmatched resilience. Its curve was elegant, its edge unforgiving, and in the right hands, apply, it became an extension of the warrior's very spirit. To lose one's katana was to lose one's honor, and for many samurai, their sword was treated as a trusted companion, apply, worthy of reverence and even ritual care. But the katana was not the only weapon that defined these legendary figures. Apply. The samurai carried a pair of swords known as the daishe, the long katana and the shorter wakizashi. Together, they represented the samurai's social status and warrior spirit. Apply. The wakizashi was not merely a backup blade, it was a close quarters weapon, one often used for indoor combat where the sweeping arc of a katana was impractical. Apply. It was also the weapon of last resort, the blade used in seppuku, the ultimate act of regaining lost honor. Each sword in the daishe was crafted with care. apply, and to wear them at the waist was a badge of belonging to an elite order. Yet, warfare was never limited to swords alone. Apply. Samurai were skilled in the bow and arrow long before they became known primarily as swordsmen. The Yumi, a long asymmetric bow, apply, was a deadly tool capable of striking from great distances. In the early centuries, mastery of the bow was considered just as important as swordsmanship. From horseback, apply. The samurai could rain arrows upon their enemies with terrifying precision, a skill honed through the ritualized practice of kaid, apply, or the way of the bow. Each arrow released was not just a shot, but a declaration of focus, discipline, and deadly intent. The ninjas, in contrast, apply, thrived in the shadows and wielded a very different arsenal. While they too knew the way of the sword, their blades were simpler and more practical. The ninja, apply, often depicted as a straight-edged sword, lacked the beauty and artistry of the katana, but compensated with utility. It could be used to slash, thrust, or pry open doors, apply, and its scabbard sometimes doubled as a breathing tube for underwater concealment. To the ninja, a weapon was not a symbol of honor, but a tool of survival. Apply. Function always outweighed form. They also wielded the shuriken, the iconic throwing stars. Though popular imagination portrays them as lethal projectiles designed to kill, in reality, apply, they were often used to distract, wound, or create opportunities to escape. Ninjas carried a variety of these small, easily concealed weapons, apply, throwing them with a flick of the wrist to disrupt the enemy's focus. Smoke bombs, concealed daggers, and even simple farming tools adapted into weapons filled the ninja's repertoire. Apply, every object could be transformed into a weapon in the hands of someone trained to think like a shadow. Spears, too, held a place in both samurai and ninja arsenals. The yari, apply, a long spear used by samurai, gave them reach and power on the battlefield. Its sharp point could pierce armor where a sword might falter, and when used in formations, it turned samurai warriors into an unstoppable wall of steel. The naginata, a pole weapon with a curved blade at the end, was favored by female warriors known as Onna-Bugeisha, apply, who used its long reach to hold their ground against larger, stronger opponents. Every weapon carried with it a philosophy. For the samurai, apply, the katana symbolized the purity of the warrior's spirit. For the ninja, the shuriken or the smoke bomb symbolized cunning, deception, and adaptability. Together, apply, these weapons tell a story not just of combat, but of two very different ways of life, one rooted in honor, the other in survival. And yet, apply, both sides left behind tools and techniques that continue to inspire fascination to this day. In the world of shadows, where whispers carried more weight than swords, apply, the ninjas of Japan perfected the art of espionage. They were not merely assassins or spies, as popular imagination often suggests, but masters of survival, deception, and intelligence. Apply, in an age when armies clashed in open fields, the ninja fought in silence, unseen and unheard, shaping outcomes long before a blade was drawn. Apply. Their craft was born not from honor-bound codes like the samurai, but from necessity. They were peasants, outcasts, and mercenaries who found power not in strength of arms, apply, but in the strength of cunning. Disguise was among their most formidable skills. A ninja could vanish in plain sight, not by disappearing into thin air, apply, but by becoming someone else entirely. They could walk into enemy villages dressed as monks, merchants, or even entertainers, gathering secrets while their true identity remained hidden. Apply. The ability to blend into any environment allowed them to extract information vital to their lords, information that could decide the fate of entire battles. Apply. To be a ninja was to be a ghost in human form, never quite who you appeared to be. Stealth was another cornerstone of their craft. Legends speak of ninjas vanishing into smoke. Apply, scaling walls like shadows and treading silently across gravel without so much as a whisper of sound. While exaggerated tales fed the mythology, the truth was no less impressive. Apply, ninjas trained their bodies to move silently, mastering techniques of infiltration that allowed them to slip past guards, climb rooftops, and disappear into the night. They used darkness, apply, terrain, and psychology to their advantage, creating fear in their enemies that was often more powerful than physical confrontation. Fear, after all, apply, could break an enemy before the fight even began. Intelligence gathering was at the very core of their mission. Apply, a ninja's greatest weapon was not the sword or the shuriken, but the knowledge they carried back to their masters. A single overheard conversation, a stolen map, will apply, or the observation of enemy troop movements could alter the course of war. They became living conduits of information, moving unseen between factions. Apply, feeding secrets that empowered one side while weakening the other. Unlike the samurai, who fought for honor, the ninja fought for outcomes, and information was their battlefield. Apply. Their tools were designed for versatility and quick advantage rather than glory. Smoke bombs could blind and disorient pursuers, allowing for escape. Apply. Small caltrops scattered on the ground could cripple enemy horses or wound soldiers chasing after them. Hidden daggers, ropes, ply, and grappling hooks allowed ninjas to improvise in any environment. Even the simplest of objects could be transformed into a tool of espionage or sabotage. Apply. A ninja's arsenal was not about grandeur, it was about adaptability. Espionage also extended into psychological warfare. Ninjas carefully cultivated their image as mystical beings. Apply. Capable of supernatural feats. Rumors of invisibility, shape-shifting, and even walking on water spread among frightened soldiers. Apply. These legends were often encouraged by the ninjas themselves, who understood that fear was a weapon as sharp as any blade. By manipulating perception, apply, they created an aura of invincibility that often allowed them to win battles without fighting at all. Yet, despite their shadowy existence, the ninjas were not lawless. Apply, they belonged to secret clans bound together by loyalty to each other and to their patrons. Their training began in childhood with harsh lessons in endurance, observation, apply, and improvisation. They were taught to use every sense, sight, hearing, touch, even smell, to detect danger and to navigate hostile environments. Apply. This lifelong discipline made them both feared and respected, even if their role remained hidden in the shadows of history. Apply. The legacy of ninja espionage lives on today, not only in the myths of invisible warriors, but in the strategies of modern intelligence. Their principles of infiltration, disguise, apply, and psychological manipulation echo in the methods of contemporary espionage agencies. Though their world was one of feudal lords and hidden clans, apply. The essence of their craft, the ability to win without open conflict, remains as relevant as ever. The ninja, in truth, were not magicians or phantoms. Apply. They were real men and women who turned secrecy into an art form, shaping history from the darkness where others dared not tread. For centuries, apply. The samurai and the ninjas have been portrayed as natural enemies, warriors of honor locked in opposition with warriors of shadows. This rivalry, both real and imagined, apply, has captured the world's fascination, yet the truth lies somewhere between battlefield clashes and whispered myths. The samurai represented the pinnacle of visible power. Apply, armored figures on horseback, banners raised high, their loyalty tied to great lords who ruled vast territories. The ninjas, by contrast, thrived in invisibility. Apply, slipping into the cracks of society, carrying out missions that no samurai could openly perform. It was a relationship defined not only by conflict but also by necessity. Apply, for in many cases, samurai and ninja worlds were more entangled than divided. The samurai, guided by the Bushido code, saw combat as a sacred act. Apply. To fight face to face was the truest expression of courage and loyalty. Their wars were grand, often accompanied by elaborate rituals of battle. They announced their presence. Apply, declared their allegiances, and met enemies under the gaze of heaven and earth. To them, honor was inseparable from visibility. Apply, a victory won through deception could taint a reputation forever. The ninja, however, lived in defiance of these ideals. Their methods relied on secrecy, trickery, and cunning. To them, apply, victory itself was the only goal, regardless of how it was achieved. A ninja slipping silently into a fortress, striking in the dark, apply, and vanishing before dawn embodied the complete opposite of the samurai's warrior ethos. And yet, despite this philosophical divide, apply, the two groups often found themselves entangled in the same struggles. Many ninja clans were employed by samurai lords to carry out missions too dishonorable for men of status. Espionage, apply, sabotage, and assassination were considered beneath the dignity of a samurai, but were crucial tools in the endless wars of feudal Japan. Apply. A daimyo could not openly order such acts without risking his reputation, so ninjas became his invisible hand. Thus, apply, the samurai's honor and the ninja's shadows often worked in unspoken partnership, each filling a role the other could not. Still, tension simmered between the two worlds. Apply, samurai saw ninjas as dishonorable tricksters, men who avoided open combat and instead preyed on fear. Tales spread of ninjas poisoning wells, infiltrating castles, apply, and vanishing like phantoms. Whether true or exaggerated, such stories painted the ninja as dangerous outsiders who played by no rules. To the samurai, apply, whose identity was tied to a rigid code, this unpredictability was deeply unsettling. Ninjas, in turn, viewed the samurai as rigid, bound by rules that often blinded them to practicality. Apply, to a ninja, surviving and completing the mission mattered more than reputation. Where a samurai might die upholding his honor, a ninja would live to fight another day. Apply, historical accounts do record direct clashes. Samurai patrols hunted down suspected ninjas, while ninja operatives infiltrated samurai, held castles to gather intelligence or sow chaos. Apply. In some regions, ninja clans like the Aiga and Keiwo-ga became renowned for resisting powerful samurai warlords, using guerrilla tactics to withstand armies much larger than themselves. Apply. These battles gave rise to the enduring image of samurai and ninja as sworn adversaries, each embodying opposite philosophies of warfare. apply, but the rivalry was also a creation of storytelling. Plays, scrolls, and later popular media exaggerated their differences, apply, turning the samurai into noble heroes and the ninjas into mysterious villains, or sometimes anti-heroes. Over time, this narrative solidified into legend, apply, a dichotomy that continues to dominate films, manga, and video games. The truth was far more complex. Samurai and ninjas were not always enemies, nor always allies. Apply. They existed in a delicate balance, two sides of the same coin of survival in a violent age. The rivalry between samurai and ninjas endures because it speaks to something universal. Apply. It is the clash between light and shadow, between rules and freedom, between honor and survival. In one, we see the ideal of discipline and loyalty. In the other, apply, the ingenuity of those who defy convention. Together, their legacies shape the story of Japan. Apply, proving that both the blade raised in daylight and the dagger wielded in darkness could alter the course of history. In the sweeping history of Japan's warriors, apply, tales of samurai and ninjas often focus on men, yet hidden within those same chronicles lies a story far more surprising, that of the women who fought, led, apply, and sacrificed with the same ferocity as their male counterparts. These women were known as Onna-Bugeisha, apply, and their role challenges the image of women as silent figures in the background of history. They were mothers and daughters, but they were also strategists and soldiers, apply, trained in weapons and discipline, ready to defend their homes, clans, and honor with unwavering resolve. Unlike the samurai men bound by service to a lord, apply, many women warriors were tied to the defense of their families and villages. In times of war, when armies marched through provinces and castles came under siege, apply, it was often the women left behind who bore the responsibility of survival. They trained in the art of the naginata, a pole weapon with a curved blade, apply, perfectly suited to counter taller and stronger male opponents. The reach of the weapon gave them an edge in combat, apply, allowing them to keep attackers at bay while striking with deadly precision. To this day, the naginata remains associated with women in Japanese martial traditions, apply, a living symbol of their strength. But these women were not merely defenders. Some became legends in their own right. Tumo Gozen, perhaps the most famous of all Onna-Bugeisha, apply, rode into battle during the Genpei War of the 12th century, commanding men with unmatched bravery. Apply, she was said to wield her bow and blade with such skill that even the fiercest warriors hesitated before crossing her path. Chronicles describe her as both beautiful and deadly. Apply, a paradox that continues to inspire fascination centuries later. Tumo was more than a rare exception. Apply, she represented a tradition of women stepping into roles that defied societal expectations when duty called. Beyond the battlefield, apply, women warriors played a crucial role in strategy and morale. They inspired their people, rallying defenders when all seemed lost. Apply, reminding them that honor and survival were worth fighting for. In sieges, they commanded defenses, coordinated supplies, and stood on the walls alongside men hurling stones. Apply, firing arrows and resisting invaders with unshakable resolve. Their courage was not always celebrated in official records written by men, apply, but oral traditions and local histories preserved their legacy, ensuring their deeds would not be forgotten. Even among the ninja clans, women were invaluable, known as kunoichi. Apply, female ninjas blended espionage with deception in ways that men could not. They used their perceived vulnerability as a disguise, slipping into households as servants, entertainers, apply, or courtesans while secretly gathering intelligence or preparing for sabotage. Kunoichi's ability to exploit societal assumptions about women gave her a deadly advantage, apply, making her an invisible force in the shadows. Where male ninjas might face suspicion, women could move more freely, turning gender into a weapon as sharp as any blade. Apply, what makes the story of women warriors so compelling is the quiet strength they embodied. They did not fight for glory or recognition, but out of necessity, love, and duty. Apply, their battles were waged not just with weapons, but with resilience against a society that often sought to confine them to limited roles. And yet, when history demanded, apply, they stepped forward and proved that courage knows no gender. The legacy of these women still lingers. Apply, modern martial arts schools in Japan continue to honor the naginata as a weapon of grace and power, echoing the training of Onna-Bugeisha. In films, literature, and popular imagination, apply, the figure of the female warrior continues to captivate, reminding us that the battlefield of history was never shaped by men alone. Apply, these women stood shoulder to shoulder with samurai and ninjas, carving their place in a world that too often tried to erase them. Their story is one of defiance, strength, apply, and endurance, a hidden chapter of history that deserves to shine in the light. The samurai and ninjas may have belonged to the distant past of feudal Japan, apply, but their spirit continues to echo across centuries, shaping the modern world in ways that are both obvious and subtle. Their legacy is not confined to history books or ancient scrolls. Apply. It lives in the discipline of martial arts, in the stories that inspire films and anime, in the quiet values that guide Japanese society. Apply. And in the imagination of millions around the globe. To speak of samurai and ninjas today is to speak of ideals that have transcended time: honor, loyalty, secrecy, resilience, apply, and survival. The samurai, with their code of Bushido, left behind more than tales of warriors. They gave Japan a cultural backbone rooted in discipline and duty. In the classroom, apply, in the workplace, and even in national pride, echoes of Bushido remain. The notion that one's word, one's integrity, apply, and one's commitment to excellence are more valuable than wealth or status can be traced back to the warrior's way. In martial arts like Kendo, Judo, and Aikido, apply. Practitioners still honor the ritual of bowing, respect for opponents, and the pursuit of mastery, principles once drilled into the samurai as part of their daily lives. Apply. Their swords may have been set aside long ago, but the mindset of the samurai is still alive in the way modern Japan values perseverance and discipline. The ninjas, apply, though less honored in formal history, left behind an equally powerful mark. Their techniques of stealth, disguise, and psychological manipulation have fascinated the world for centuries. Apply. Today, the idea of the ninja has grown into a global phenomenon. From Hollywood films to Japanese manga, from video games to Halloween costumes, the ninja embodies mystery, cunning, apply, and independence. While the myths of invisibility and superhuman feats may not be real, apply, the ingenuity and adaptability they practice remain qualities admired and studied in modern military strategy and intelligence. Apply. Even law enforcement and survival training borrow from ninja, like tactics of deception, escape, and unconventional thinking. Apply. Their cultural influence stretches far beyond Japan's borders. Samurai armor and katanas are displayed in museums across the world. Apply. Drawing crowds eager to glimpse the artistry of the past. Movies and TV shows reimagine their battles, their honor, and their rivalries. Apply, capturing audiences who may never set foot in Japan yet feel deeply connected to its warrior heritage. Ninjas, meanwhile, dominate global pop culture, often portrayed as silent, apply, unstoppable figures of the night. They have become symbols of resilience against overwhelming odds, their myth stronger than any sword stroke they ever delivered. Apply. Perhaps the greatest legacy of samurai and ninjas lies not in the weapons they wielded or the battles they fought, but in the timeless questions they embody. Should one live by honor? Apply, even at the cost of life, as the samurai believed, or should one embrace adaptability and cunning to survive at all costs, as the ninja practiced? Apply. These two opposing philosophies continue to resonate because they reflect the choices every generation must face. The tension between ideals and practicality, between light and shadow, apply, between loyalty and survival, is as relevant today as it was hundreds of years ago. And so, the samurai and ninjas are not just figures of the past, they are living archetypes. Apply, stories that speak to our fascination with strength, courage, mystery, and resilience. Apply. They remind us that history is not simply a record of what once was, but a mirror that reflects who we are and who we strive to be. From the gleaming katana to the silent shuriken. Apply. From the battlefield to the shadows, their presence endures, shaping art, culture, and imagination in every corner of the world. Apply. If you've enjoyed uncovering the myths and truths behind Japan's legendary warriors, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, apply, and stay tuned for more incredible journeys into history's greatest mysteries.